Welcome to our ultimate showdown of these three powerful MPCs. Today we're going to be looking at the MPC Keys 37, MPC 1 Plus, and MPC Live Mark II. Now I'll be comparing them across three crucial categories. First, portability, performance and workflow, and lastly, versatility and connectivity. Also, stick around to the end of this video as I'll share with you which one is my favorite MPC and which one I would keep if I had to choose only one out of these three. Now, these three MPCs are great. The only thing that's going to matter is just your needs, your workflow, how you make music. Maybe one is going to suit you better than the other. Oh, and by the way, if you are thinking of picking up the MPC Keys 37 or any sampler or just a vinyl record player, the one that I'm using is Audio-Technica LP60. I'll have some links to Zound, so if you guys want to go ahead and pick some of this stuff up and start making payments, they'll go ahead and ship it out to you. Continue to make your payments as you start to use your samplers. Let's get right back into it. Now, when it comes down to portability, we gotta give it to the MPC Live Mark II, since it has a built-in battery. I've taken it out. I mean, I'm not timing myself when I'm making music, but it's more than enough time for me to put out a few beats, have fun with it. I'm not looking for a plug, or the battery's not running out on me very fast, which, being that it has a built-in battery, it's honestly the heaviest MPC out of these three, which I like because it just feels a lot more durable, and especially if you're taking it out, I just feel like it's built really, really well. Now with the MPC Keys and the MPC 1, they feel a little bit more plasticky, they're a little more lightweight, opposed to the MPC Live. It just feels like a heavier unit, and it's just built very, very solid. It's honestly my favorite built MPC out of all three that I have. Not only do I have to give it to the Live Mark II because of the built-in battery, but it also has a built-in SSD drive that you could install later on if you want. So in this case, you could really unplug, take tons of files with you. I mean, you could also do it in a SD card or a USB drive, but just having this powerful SSD drive built inside of the MPC Live Mark II makes it even more portable if you really just want to stay away from your studio. Now, second place, I got to give it to the MPC 1 Plus. It is lightweight. It's honestly the lightest MPC I've ever owned. It's easy to just put it in a backpack. It's actually smaller than the MPC Live Mark II, but the MPC 1 is just a very small sampler where you could just slide it right into a backpack. You could carry it with you. It doesn't weigh much, so it's not going to be an extra weight that you have to lug around. And you can also take an SD card or a USB thumb drive to put a bunch of files in there, samples, if that's what you want to take with you if you're going to be on the go. Now, the MPC Keys 37 is not something that I see myself taking out of the studio as often, like the MPC 1 or the MPC Live. It's a little bit bigger, and it does have the keys on it, and it's not something that, unless you have a travel case for the keys, then great, that's good, but it's not something I want to just put in the trunk of my car and take it with me, since it has keys on there and I would not want those to get damaged. Now, speaking about portability and traveling, just travel cases alone, make sure you check out Analog Cases. They're super dope. They got some awesome cases for your MPC Keys 37. They also have this carry-on backpack that you can take with your MPC 1. You can fit that right in there, a bunch of records, your laptop. They're very well built. They protect your gear. I've put my MPC, as a matter of fact, I've even put my MPC XL in this backpack, and it fits really good. So check out these bags right here if you're looking to travel with your units. I'll leave a link down in the description. Go ahead and check them out. Now, performance and workflow, I gotta give it to the MPC 1 Plus. It has all the buttons that I'm going to need to jump into menus. Now, it sounds a little funny that I'm saying buttons and quick keys, because the MPC Keys and the MPC Live, they got to do a little bit more menu diving, which does not even take an extra second, but that second or two makes the MPC a bit faster. And it's not about making a beat fast. It's not that I'm trying to be quick with it, but it's just, don't don't want to do too much menu diving. I just want to click a button and it takes me there. The MPC one, I think, is more of a subconscious thing. I'm not really thinking about, oh, I got to go into the menus. No, I'm not thinking like that. I'm just moving and I have an idea. I just click a button and I'm there. The MPC One Plus has been my go-to just for the workflow of it. It's so fast. Now in second place, I got to give it to the MPC Keys 37 when it comes down to workflow, simply because it has those keys right at the bottom of your device. So I've noticed that when I'm on the MPC keys, when I'm making a beat, I start with my drums, then I put my sample, then I put a bass line, and right away as I'm moving, I'm not thinking about should I do this next or should I do that. Instantaneously, I just have the keys right at the bottom and I just go into some plug-in instruments and I start laying that down. It works sometimes it doesn't, but if it does, it's something fast that I can just flow out of my creativity. So having that right there as I'm performing, it's been awesome. So I got to give it to the MPC keys for that reason. Now the MPC Live is honestly, again, minor menu diving, but you do have to get used to it if you come from the MPC One. At least I started with the MPC One, and when I moved over to the MPC Live, it took me some time to get a hold of, okay, I gotta hit shift and go into this button to go into a certain menu. So again, it's minor millisecond adjustments that you're going to be clicking, but muscle memory, and then you get used to it. So it's not really a deal breaker. Now, one last thing that I got to mention when it comes down to performance, at least with the Live Mark II, that is the only MPC out of these three that has the full size sensitivity pads. If that's a big issue to you, I've heard so many people that are like, I can't stand those small little pads when I'm performing. Look into the Live Mark II. That one's the only one that has the biggest size 16 level velocity sensitive pads. I think they feel great. At first, I didn't think I'd care too much. I don't mind the small pads. It's not a big deal for me. But once you get a feel of the full size pads, it does feel a lot better when you're performing a beat. Just something that to keep in mind if that's something that you're prioritizing. Now, real quick, if you're just getting started with your MPC, I have an MPC One Plus course that takes you from start to finish going through the MPC workflow. So if it's something that you're struggling with, now I also offer payment plans. So if you want to pick this up today, do not forget we have Klarna, PayPal, Afterpay. Check out these options right here. And also on a side note, I got to give a shout out to Job Fresh, man. If you have not watched his YouTube channel, I'll leave links up here. I'm just trying to give you resources on better learning the MPC. He's got awesome videos. He goes and uses the MPC from a whole different angle. Super dope videos, easy to understand. And also he has a book he just released where he gives you a bunch of tips on the MPC. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link to those books down in the description of this video. Now, lastly, versatility and connectivity. This is an interesting one, and I personally have to put the MPC Live Mark II at the very top because when it comes down to versatility, that thing right there, it just, these other two will not compare. And connectivity, because you could connect to all three of these devices a class compliant interface, and you have extra connectivity. You got as many IO as you want. When I say IO, is inputs and outputs on the back of the machines to connect into them and come out of them. But when you don't have an external interface, or you want to connect into somebody else's interface or into your studio's interface, the MPC Live Mark II is awesome because it has 6 outputs, which are very useful when it comes down to connecting external sources. Let's say you want to put your kicks on output channel 1 and then get a cable from output channel 1 into some guitar pedals, give it some texture, and then come out of those guitar pedals into your interface to record it. And then let's say channel 2, you want to run that through some other pieces of outboard gear. Like, there's just so much versatility you can do with these extra outputs that are built into the machine. When I got the MPC Live Mark II and I started tapping into guitar pedals, it was so hard for me to go back to the MPC One because for me, that connectivity is important. I prioritize Connectivity, that's why I've always said, man, the MPC Live Mark II, just because of the built-in IO, has been awesome for me because I like tapping into external outboard gear. Now, you might be like, I don't care about that. It's not a big issue to me. Then yes, that's not going to matter as much to you. But for someone that knows down the road or in a few months or in a year or two, you might want to start investing in some outboard gear, look into the MPC Live Mark II. Now, in second place, I will say the MPC Keys is awesome because it is very versatile. I make beats on the MPC Keys 37. There is times where I will use the keys that come with it. There's times where I don't. There's times where I just samples, drums, bass, and I do that all from the pads that I have right there. So it's not like you have to use those keys or else why you got the MPC keys. No, if you feel like it's something that you might be using, again, it's just versatility. But not every beat I'm forcing to play keys because I'm not a keyboard player, but it still comes in handy. The Keys 37 is still very versatile. When it comes down to the IO of the Keys 37 and the MPC One Plus, they're very similar. They both let you put in an SD card. They both will receive a USB stick if you want to put some samples on a USB or an SD card. And they both have CV/gates on the back of the unit. So if you want to connect any other synthesizers, you can do it with either machine. So with that being said, let's go into which one is my favorite MPC. So if I could only choose one and I had to stick with this one piece, which one would it be out of these three MPCs? It's crazy that I'm gonna say this, but I didn't think I would say this, but I am going to say it. My number one MPC right now, if I had to stick with one of them, would be the MPC Keys 37. It's wild that I'm saying this because when I first got my hands on the 37, I was a bit confused because I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this machine. I don't play keys. I'm not a piano player. I'd rather just perform with the pads because, again, I don't play keys. So before with the MPC Live or in the MPC One, I would just use the pads and I'll come up with a melody, and that was okay for me. But now having the keys and now experiencing a little bit of chords on the keys and being able to play something, even though I'm not the best at it, has been so much fun. I don't know how to express it, but I feel like my beats have changed a bit, being able to add a bit more of my touch with my samples versus back then with just the MPC and my pads. I wouldn't really think, or I wouldn't really go as far as let me connect the external keyboard, maybe because that extra step just kind of kept me away from doing it. But having the Keys 37 right there has been great, has been awesome. But with that being said, the Keys 37 just has taken it for me. Like it's wild. I love it. The size of it. I know the keys, was it the 61? I don't know if this is the 61s that came out a while back. It was just never an option for me. Way too big of a keyboard that I would never use all those keys. But if you're someone like me that kind of plays a little bit, but not too much, you're not too sure if you're going to be using it all the time, the Keys 37 is so dope. And talking about what plug-in instruments should I get when I get the Keys 37, there's so many out there, and I'll be honest with you, I have them all and I don't use them all, but my favorite ones that I would recommend if you're going to start with any for just synth pads, Jura is dope. Like that one is one of my top used plug-in instruments from Akai, and I'll leave a link down in the description to these. And for bass lines, they got the Mini D. That one actually sounds really good for bass lines. Also, Jura has some good bass tones in there, so if you want to go with either or, they both will do very good. It's just Mini D is a little more specific for lower frequencies. So it's something to look into if you're just getting one and you're thinking, which one should I pick up? All right, so in conclusion, whether you prioritize portability, performance and workflow, or versatility and connectivity, all three of these MPCs are awesome. They give you everything you're going to need right at your fingertips. They've put in these machines everything that I've ever wished for, and now they even have stem separations that's going to be coming out in the future in standalone, which has been awesome. I mean, you cannot go wrong with any of these machines you use. It's just my input, my experience with these machines throughout the time that I've used them, and hopefully this helps you better choose what you want to go for. Now, if you pick MPC Keys Live or One Plus, check out some of these videos that I'm going to leave right here. I'll leave some playlists to the videos that I put out with these machines so you could understand how to use these a bit better. If you're a little confused and you're like, man, I don't know how to start with this. I know it could be a little confusing, especially if you're just getting started with the MPC. Check out some of my videos. I got a bunch of free content that might help you get the ball rolling, at least with the workflow of these machines. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll catch you guys on our next video. Peace.